Hi everyone, appreciate y'all taking some time to watch today's video. I really do appreciate it. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you some of the Huddleston Deluxe modifications. So this is a brand new Huddleston Deluxe Swimbait. It's the 8-inch model. So I'm wanting to do some modifications on it to make it look a little bit more, even more realistic than what it does. So those are going to include like the gill modification as well as the fin modification here. So we'll get into doing this, and I'm going to show you kind of the step-by-step as to how I do this modification. And then after that, I'll show you some video footage of fishing the Huddleston, kind of my overall process as far as how I fish it, what I'm looking for, things like that when I fish for the Huddleston. So let's hop right into it, and I appreciate y'all watching. All right, everyone. So to begin, we're going to take our razor blade. And you will need a couple of tools for this modification, but it's not too bad, and you won't destroy the bait or anything doing this. So what you'll do is, as you can see, there's a gill plate right here on the bait. So what you'll do is you'll take your razor blade and you'll go right around that gill plate. And just kind of make really slow. You don't have to you're not in a race, you don't have to go real fast. So you'll just keep going nice and easy. Then you'll just keep bringing that in until you've outlined the entire gill. And then as you can tell, that's what you kind of get as your product. You'll see this little opening come out after you've made your slits. You'll kind of just want to cut it to where you can definitely see that you've got plenty of room here in just a minute to make that real pretty gill. It's going to go in. All right. And we'll do the exact same thing to the other side. You know, this is the IU color of the Huddleston Deluxe. I do also fish the rainbow trout color, but I figured in this purpose, this color would work well. And like I said, just take your time with it. You're not in a race. You just want to make sure it's really good, clean cuts. All right. Next up, we're going to actually cut out the fin. So once again, just kind of trace along the lines. And it's kind of already got the fins pretty well like beveled out. So it's a very simple modification. It just takes a little bit of time kind of get it all worked out. And then you'll just kind of come under here and you'll start slowly cutting away that extra rubber. This is going to give that bait just a little bit more of a lifelike action. It is a little bit hollow under here, but don't be worried about that. So you've got that fin to where it can kind of freely move now. You're going to do that exact same thing on this side. And just go slow. You're not having to run any race. And then you've got it detached. So now you've got this really nice little fin here that does its deal. And it's going to be perfect. There we go. And there you go. You've got both fins now out and about to where they can move and flap. All right. So now we've got our gill that we're ready to go to. So, in order to do the gill, what I will do is first off is measure, get a roundabout, you know, you may have to tweak it as you go, but you're going to kind of try to align your pipe cleaner. This is just a red pipe cleaner. You can get at any hobby or craft store, Walmart, anything like that. So just kind of measure it up. Take you a set of snips. Just cut the pipe cleaner. All right. Now, this is a little section that I kind of took a tip from Butch Brown, is take a little lighter, and all you've got to do is just get the flame going, and then just very gently kind of run that flame over that. What that does is that's going to shrink a lot of that excess, I guess, fuzz or whatever you want to call it, it's on the pipe cleaner. And now you're going to have this real tighter, it's actually going to even turn it just a little bit more of like a blood red color. So what you do is you'll open up that gill that you just made that slit, and then you're going to kind of slowly work that pipe cleaner into the gill. And that's just slow and easy. You want it to be in there really nice and also fit it rather well. So in this case, I'm going to have to trim that pipe cleaner up just a little bit. You want to have it to where it fits it nice and snug. And it's also, you're not wanting it to be in there to the point like that you've really changed the bait up a lot. It's just enough of a change to where it makes this bait pop out a little bit. So, and you may have to go in here like I'm doing right now and trimming just a little bit more. That gives you just that little bit extra room to put that pipe cleaner in there. So, let's see here how that looks. I'm going to trim it one more time. And see, the other thing is that you're wanting this to look as natural as possible. So when you do your pipe cleaner, just take your time to make sure that it looks real. You don't want it to look fluffy. You know, think about it with a trout or any sort of bait fish or even a game fish like a bass. They don't, when you see them in the water, their gills are not flared out huge. Mainly, you can only see the gill when you kind of look from behind. And that's kind of what we're wanting to do here. If I can get this in here. Now, in my mind, that is a little bit still too fluffy, if that's the right word for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lighter, shrink up that side just a little bit more. Like I said, you're not really looking for a ton of bulk in this. You just need enough red to where it shows that's where the attack point is. This is where you're trying to drive that bass to hit. You know, if bulls see red and bass see red, red is a good color for an attack point. So, now see, that is about what we're looking for. Nice and tight in there. You can kind of see that red. Now what you're going to do here at this stage, now that you've got your gill kind of in there, you're going to take you some super glue. Now you're just going to line that gill. And that'll sit right in there, and that will take care of it. And that'll glue that pipe cleaner in there to where you won't have to worry about it. And I'll do that exact same process for the other side. But so that is the Huddleston modifications that I make, you know, just really just the main two. I am going to be trying the Butch Brown modification as far as the hook goes, so I'll be clipping off this hook and I'll be tying directly to the eyelet to have a treble hook hanging there. So that's kind of one of my next adventures, and I'll try to do another little take here in just a second and show you how that process works. All right, so I'm going to hop off camera real quick, add this other gill, and then we'll hop into the treble hook. All right, so I got that other gill modification in, and you can kind of see it from the bottom as to how those end up looking, you know, a little bit more lifelike, giving those gills just a little bit of flare out. So now what we're going to do is we are going to do our Butch Brown hook modification, and what we're going to be doing is trading out this giant jig hook right here, and we're going to be trading it out for a size #1 treble hook, and this is the Swimbait Underground treble. I'm going to give it a try, see how I like it, and we'll go from there. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to clip this big jig hook off. So get you your pliers or your wire cutters, hook cutters, however you want to look at it, and you're going to really give it a hard squeeze. And there we are. And there's what's left of the hook. All right, so got rid of the jig hook. Now we're going to Butch Brown rig. So the one thing that I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to have the 2 hook points on top. I'm trying to think as to how I'd rather have this sit. Yeah, I think we'll do it that route. So one thing I am going to do is I'm going to clip off this barb to where I only have 2 barbs exposed to catch the fish. Perfect. So now I'm going to take my pliers, and if you can see this, I'm going to bend this hook point that I just cut down a little bit to where I can get that to where it'll grip in the bait just a little bit. That is actually what's going to hold this hook in the bait just a tidbit. And now what I'm going to use is some single strand wire to hold the hook on. You know, where I live in East Tennessee, our fisheries are very, very pressured. We get a lot of people on the lakes. So what we're doing here is just trying to, you know, I was going to say make ourselves stand out, but really we're not wanting to stand out. Really, we're wanting to look as natural as possible. So what I've got is a spool of single strand wire, and all I did was just cut off a piece. So now what I'll do, and this is very thin wire, this is just single strand. So we're going to come through that eyelet. And what we're going to do is just give it a couple of overhand wraps. And it's like I said, this is thin wire. This is the Cabela's 140-pound test, so it's very small wire. It's easy to manipulate with your fingers. And it is stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about it rusting once you kind of get this on here. Okay, so here you can kind of see what I did is I was just making a cross with the 2, using the pliers so that I could actually hold it a little bit better. And you're just going to twist it. Twist that wire around to where you get a really good bite on itself. And I assure you, I mean, this is very similar to your process with your Alabama rig, so it's not that different. Now, Butch Brown does use crimps, and to be quite honest with you, I just don't have the experience of using crimps, so I'm using more of just a twist method here. But considering that it's a 140-pound wire, I think I'll be okay. If I start losing fish or I start losing hooks, we'll revisit. All right, and then lastly is we're going to come in here with the hook, and I'm going to bring it up tight. I want it to come pretty close to the head. So as you can see, this is about how I want it to sit, and it's going to be very, very low profile. Okay, so now what I have done is, as you can see, I've made a twist around that wire to where this holds the hook on. And then when the fish bites, naturally my line is still attached to the hook out here. You have the wire that free flows, so the bait actually is outside to where you don't have to worry about the fish. And now the hook, with that little point that we clipped off, slides right there on top of the bait. Just punctures right in, and it'll sit right there, upside down, all around, no big deal. And if you have issues with it or anything, you can just clip the wire, and there you go. So there is the basic Butch Brown rig for this Huddleston 8-inch Deluxe. Now, with that being said, like I did say, you know, I did not use crimps. I just did a twist on the wire. I do not expect that to have any sort of failure. That's strong wire, 140 pound, and I've got multiple twists on that. If you look at your Alabama rigs, that's typically all they have is twists. So I think this will be a good rig. We'll get it out on the water and we'll give it a try. So now I'm going to show you some footage of some fish catches that I've had prior to using the Butch Brown rig method. This was on just the normal jig hook. There's nothing wrong with the jig hook. It's just where I live, with the amount of pressure that we're getting on the lakes now, I do want to try to see if I can get some more bites if I do it somewhat of a different way. As you can see right now, with all the work that we did on it, our gills are kind of popping out just a little bit, but they'll be fine once that glue sets up. So there we go. And I'll show you some of that footage, and we'll talk through how to fish this Huddleston on the bottom. Hi everyone, I wanted to hop on here and try to do a voiceover of this clip. This is a clip of December 30th in 2020, and my dad and I were out fishing on the lake, and I was throwing the 8-inch Huddleston, the ROF 12. So that is rate of fall 12. That's what ROF stands for. And that is the sink rate, so it sinks 12 feet every 10 seconds. That's how that's calculated. In this video, I'm throwing the Daiwa DX Swimbait rod, the extra heavy. This was when Daiwa still made that rod. It's rated like up to 14 ounces, so it's a very stout rod. I use it for a lot of my jig hook soft baits, or you know, just my soft baits in general for the most part that are that large. But the reel that I'm using is a Daiwa Lexa 300 series on a 6-to-1 with Seaguar Braze X 20-pound fluorocarbon line. So as you can see right there, that was the moment I casted the bait, throwing that in. So right now the bait is sinking. During this time of year, you know, we've got cold water. This is what I like to call the Huddleston crawl that you will do when you get your bait on the bottom. You know, that's the biggest challenge right now. So kind of get you a drink of coffee, wait on the bait to hit bottom, and then you can engage the reel and start the retrieve. So right here, the reel just got engaged. And really all I do is just take up the slack with the initial couple of handle turns. And then once you feel the weight of the bait, slow way down. Because as you can see here, so I've slowed my hand down some. And it's just a really slow, it's like a slow rolling a spinner bait. That's about where I'm at right now. Here in just a few moments, you'll actually, I'll really try to highlight how slow this handle turn is, because it does slow down considerably. Because we got a lot of those boat wakes, like I said, it's harder to feel the Huddleston. So when we, you know, there we go. So right here is about where the handle turn starts really slowing way down to more of the crawl. And all you're doing is you're making sure that you can feel the bait's weight that you're pulling. You won't feel much of a tail thump. All you're gonna feel is just the weight. Sometimes, you know, here you can see sometimes my hand will go a little bit faster. What's going on is I'm pulling that bait across rock. So it's, you know, it's just one of those situations to where when you're pulling it over those rocks, you've got to kind of give it just a little bit more on the reel to bump it over. Same as if you're pulling a jig or like dragging a spinner bait. You just have to get it over those rocks. So here the reel handle just turns so slowly. You know, as always, it's nicer to do these on sunny days. That way you're at least a little bit warmer trying to do this crawl. So it's just slow, creepy crawling. And when you feel the bite, it's gonna feel about like a jig bite. It's just a really good hard pop when the bass really tries to tackle the bait. This was my first Huddleston fish. It was a lot of fun catching it because the excitement that we had just because this fish was the first on an 8-inch bait. First bass on an 8-inch bait, I should say. But they will eat it. And going back to that handle turn, you know, probably about 10 to 20 seconds on just one complete revolution of your hand. That's how slow. All right, so we hooked up here. So in this one, Dad and I kind of had a little bit of challenges because Dad was fishing out deep too. So he was trying to reel up as fast as he could. His bait ended up getting tangled in my line. As you can kind of see right here, that smallmouth is going about as fast as it possibly can to the top of the water. And yeah, we just had some, it was a fun day. You know, looking back at it, we landed the fish, so it all works out, but it probably would not have been as fun had we not landed it. But looking back at it, it's a great fun thing to get to see. But that's about a 3.5 pound smallmouth that was caught. That was the first fish that was that I'd ever caught on the Huddleston. And you know, this goes back to the whole adage of you don't have to have a giant fish to eat a big bait. This is what I would consider an average size smallmouth. We have a large number of 3 to 3.5 pound smallmouth living in our local lakes here in East Tennessee. So they don't have to be giants by any means. So don't be intimidated by the bait size. But we get a couple of pictures and get a good safe release on it. But I appreciate everyone watching. I hope this video's helped you, and I hope this information helps. And I'll be looking forward to talking to everyone on the next video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next video.